Hi, Paul Williams with Control4. I'm going to introduce you to a new revolutionary tool called Composer Express. Composer Express is a mobile-based tool that's available both in iOS and Android platforms and allows for dealers to be able to quickly and easily get into and get homes set up, and then for them to then have this installation process happen in a much simpler and easier way. It really allows us to be able to create a new labor model where you can send in an apprentice installer that can go in, get the products installed, get them up to date, get the project created, the Control4 project created, and then have your Control4 Ninja or Jedi come in after the fact, potentially even remotely. In fact, what you'd prefer is to have them come in remotely so they don't even have to come on the job site and add the bells and whistles in using our Composer Pro software. It's a very simple, intuitive, easy to use software. I'm going to come in here I've launched this Composer Express on my iPad mini here. I'm coming into the system here. When it comes in, I connect to a local system. There's a controller that we have here. You'll see that controller populate. If I had other controllers, it would also show those. I'm going to click on this system here, and then I have settings, design, tools, and info. Under design, that's going to bring up my project. And those of you that are familiar with Control4 would know that this is a project file here. It is going to ask if I want to register the controller. I'm going to no. We've also streamlined that process. But what I want to do is I want to add another device into the system here. And if I click on the add a device, I'm going to show you a really cool feature that we have here. Zigbee devices and adding them to the project really couldn't be simpler. I'm going to simply come to the Zigbee device, and I'm going to tap it 4 times, just like I would do to identify it in a system. And what that's going to do, assuming that I hit 4 buttons there, which I'm pretty sure I did. Pausing for dramatic effect.
I don't know, you might have only tapped 3.
I may have.
Yeah, that's better.
There we go.
I heard all the clicks there.
Yeah, there, I didn't do it correctly the first time. And then what it'll do is then it pulls up, and the cool part for dealers is, once again, I don't need to remember what device it is, because what's happening is, it already told me that this is an adaptive phase dimmer. And that adaptive phase dimmer has popped up on the screen here and asked me to add it. Now, what's even cooler here, and it's going to be a big time-saving thing here, oh, sorry, is that was to move rooms, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the name of it. Now I could type out and say this is in Julie's room, but really what I want to do is I can leverage the mobile platform that we're on here, and what I'm going to do is hit my microphone there and go, Julie's room. And you'll notice it's populated out there and said Julie's room. Now as an installer, all I need is to add, and that device has now been added to the project and been identified to the project, so it's ready to be used. So we've saved and streamlined a lot of the steps that our dealers were taking using Composer Pro, and using Composer Express really streamlined and simplified the way those are added to the system. I can also do connections from here, so that as I'm adding AV devices into the system, I can make the connections so that the HDMI connection is coming from the controller to the receiver, and then another HDMI connection from the receiver to the television.
So earlier on I asked you how that's different from Composer Pro, because doesn't the Zigbee device enroll the same way?
So the Zigbee device enrolls similarly in Composer Pro. In Composer Pro, I do see that I get a list of devices off to the side. I go to the room that I want to add it in. I have to know exactly what product that is. So in this case, when I was touching the adaptive phase dimmer, I would have to know in that gang of 4 that were there that one was an adaptive phase dimmer. I would then in Composer Pro go over to the driver itself, and I would drag it into the project, into the room that I wanted. Then I would put it into an identify mode in Composer, and then 4-tap that product to add it. What we've done with Composer Express is really simplified that down to, I put the Composer Express into this add device mode, and then all I do is tap the device 4 times. It then checks in and lets us know that's the device that's being added. It pulls the right driver for it so that it makes sure it is the right driver I'm adding, and also then identifies it in the system. So it's cut some steps out of that process. You can think about this in a large home with 100 lighting devices. Really all I need to do, I don't need to open the laptop. I take my iPad or even my iPhone or my Android phone. I simply walk around the house with it and tap devices. I then can assign what room it goes into and rename it all right there with this device. And so it's a huge time-saving tool that we've got, just that one feature of Composer Express in being able to add and identify devices in the system.
And then for your SDDP devices?
Oh yeah. So what I'll have to do, let me delete those first though. So because I added them before, so let me delete a few of those and then they'll show up on there.
So you're talking about a junior person or someone that's already doing some installations. They would come in and install all of these items as they usually would and get a lot of the on-site stuff done and then hand it off to a more advanced programmer?
Yes, so what we're able to do with this, with Composer Express, is really create a new labor model potential for the dealer. And what the dealer can do, and one of the top things we heard from dealers is one of the things that's preventing them from growing is finding talented help and finding talented individuals for them. So what we're able to do with Composer Express is help them to create a new labor strategy or a labor model for their business. What they're able to do is have apprentice level installers that can go out, they have good technical aptitude, they can install the products, they can wire them correctly, get them set up. And then also what we're allowing them to do with Composer Express is start the process. They can get the project established, get the rooms created, get the products created within those rooms, make all of the necessary connections and bindings so the system is functional, and then allow them to have their Ninja programmer remotely log in and to be able to add all the bells and whistles in programming. Meanwhile, the apprentice installer has moved on to the next job. And what we're able to do is add some efficiency so that dealer can actually take on more projects and grow their business. And that's incredibly important. Now, in our own testing that we've done in homes, we're seeing up to a 70% improvement in time that it takes to install a system, just by using Composer Express. And so we're confident this is going to be a great tool for our dealers in expanding their business, taking on more deals, and being able to really increase the business that they're doing. Now, what I'm going to show you here as well, in device discovery devices section here, under SDDP, you'll notice that what we now see are two devices here. This is using SDDP, which is Simple Device Discovery Protocol. Control4 has been working over the last couple of years with manufacturers to take this small piece of protocol that we created and putting it in the firmware in their products. So any of these manufacturers that have been adding those to their products will automatically show up in Composer Express. And what we have here is we have the Hopper EchoStar, the Dish Network box that's shown up. And if I want to add that to the project, all I really need to do is I hit the plus sign out here to the side. Make sure I'm parsing it. It'll ask me what room I want to put it in. I can change the room at this point. I can rename it. But I'm just going to add it to the project. It automatically goes and finds and makes sure through SDDP that we've got the right driver, that the right driver's been pulled in, and it's also the latest driver. And you also see that we have the Sony receiver here. And it also has self-identified itself. It went out. So what this does, it saves a lot of time for the dealer. They don't need to crawl behind the rack and try to find the description label on what the product number is, then go into the database and search for the proper driver and then drag that driver into the project. It's simply done with the touch of that plus button there and then adding it to the system. So really simplifying the way that installation happens.
And when will the software be available?
So software is available on September 10th.